Hey guys, welcome back to the Pistonhead podcast. On this week, we finally get to sit down with Matt Farah of the Smoking Tire. Matt has been an inspiration to me and a lot of other guys in the car community. He is one of the people who kind of indirectly convinced me to start this podcast. We had an absolute amazing conversation. I'm kind of flustered. It was really good. We talked about the Ford GT. Talked about his DeLorean, the Focus RS, talked about a lot of different cars, obviously, chatted about being a YouTube creator and marketing himself and all that fun stuff. Just an excellent podcast. This is one you guys are really going to enjoy.
All right, cool. Here we are. What's up?
Not much, man. How was, we were just talking about how crazy of a day you had. I was kind of following you around on Instagram before because you decided to open this morning with the teaser to end all teasers. So if you want to, I don't know if you want to talk about, kind of what you got to do today.
Well, so, I'm like, I keep myself busy. Like, I'm busy because I make myself busy. I make my own schedule. So if I'm bored or if I'm busy, I have myself to blame for either of those conditions. And I make myself busy. And so the point was, I'm going out of town later this week. And so I already was packed, and I got a call last night from Jamal Hamidi at Ford. And he was like, yo, so I know, you didn't get to have a go in that GT when you were at VIR doing the drive thing. And that was kind of a bummer because I wanted you to try it. And, there's one press car, one GT press car, and it is in LA for like 48 hours. And, if you can make yourself available, you can have it for 7 hours tomorrow morning.
Wow.
And so I made myself available. I pushed a few things back, including the recording of your podcast, for which I apologize.
Nah, that's cool.
And, woke my ass up at 5:30 and went and got myself a black and red GT and hammered the snot out of it for 7 hours straight, stopping only to make videos. So I obviously made a video with the car. I actually made two videos. I did a just the noise video, which I found is a genius way to double up, because like I turn on the cameras and I drive and do my review, right?
Yeah.
And then I have to go back. So I just turn the cameras on and drive back silently. And that's another video. And people are like, this is amazing. And I'm like, yes, it is amazing.
Well, you're kind of the king of taking, producing the most amount of work with the least amount of effort. And you and I chatted a few times about that. So that's just one more step in the process where it's like, why wasn't I doing this years ago? Right.
Yeah. It's so funny because I both complain about and am somewhat responsible for the race to the bottom in this game. We started with Top Gear, and now we're at exhaust clips and Mustang crash videos, and now we're at the best automotive content on the internet, by the numbers, is like not even real cars, like videos of guys playing fucking Forza, like pull more views than the real cars sometimes. So it's a crazy place we're at right now, so I definitely have been part of the race to the bottom, because I just started doing math and realized, like, wow, got to figure out how to make a whole bunch of content for like $0.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. There was a YouTube channel that I was doing a little bit of work with, some collaboration shit. Anyways, we're kind of, back and forth. I'm like, so what, where'd you guys get your big jump in subscribers? Most channels can kind of go back to like, oh, we did one of these couple of videos and we got this huge jump. So anyways, I was asking them, I said, what got you guys going? And they're like, oh, diesel cold start videos. I'm like, fuck off. He goes, yeah, he's like, no, we run a farm. So we went to every farm truck that was diesel. We got like a half decent microphone. We started it. And we put out a 2-minute video of a diesel cold. That's it. And I'm like, and now you've got 14,000 subscribers. Okay, that's cool.
Yep. Yeah. But are those people disappointed when your newest video isn't a new diesel?
Yeah, I know.
He starts. What if that guy is the next Jeremy Clarkson? The audience would be like, I came here for the diesel cold start videos. You know?
Well, they swapped like I want to say like a Yamaha R1 engine into a smart car. And I look at those views in comparison to these diesel cold starts, and they're like a third of it. Now, being said, YouTube's kind of fucked everybody currently, but
yeah, I'm not sure what the actual. They like to keep the real algorithms a secret. They tell you what they think it's okay for you to know, and then they keep the real information to themselves. And I understand that. I'm not necessarily complaining about that. And I'm as much to blame as for my own personal YouTube situation as anything else. In fact, probably a lot more. But yeah, no, there has been a noticeable change in the way that people are directed to videos. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and with the kind of the continued battle between Facebook and Google, it used to be you could post direct videos into Facebook from YouTube and then get your views through that. But now you post a YouTube link on Facebook, they all but shut down your account for 24 hours.
Do they?
Oh yeah,
I guess they don't for me, but I guess that's sort of my thing though. So
yeah, maybe like we noticed. I kind of dicked around with it, and I'm like, okay, what's worth it? Do we post on Facebook and YouTube? And I'm like, well, we're making dick all for money on YouTube. Why wouldn't I throw them on Facebook too? We literally have twice the audience on Facebook over YouTube. I would post the YouTube video, and it would get like it shows the viewer stats. It'd be like 200 people saw this out of 11,000. And then I'd post a Facebook video, exact same one at the exact same time, and it would come up and be like, yeah, 8,000 people saw this.
Do you know why that is?
Well, they want native content, right?
No, it's because of how Facebook counts a view and how YouTube counts a view.
3 seconds versus 30, right?
Yeah, I mean, someone's just scrolling past your Facebook video, not watching it, just scrolling past it medium slowly while reading the posts next to it. That counts as a view. Yeah. Facebook retention is horseshit. I put a video on Facebook that got, that did 150 or 250,000 on YouTube, and it did like 3 million on Facebook. But my retention on YouTube is like 7 minutes, and my retention on Facebook was like 4 seconds. It was bullshit. None of them were real views. They were all bullshit. So like, if I were you, I would not. I mean, I would. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you mean by all but shut down. I hope that's a euphemism.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, no. I think the truth is that they do throttle, just link sharing in general versus native content, and only a certain percentage of your subscribers do see that stuff. But the view counts on Facebook videos are not real.
Fair enough.
So, and then furthermore, they're not monetized either. I mean, so it's just like, what's the point? If I were you, my advice would be to direct all traffic to your best monetized platform.
That's a good point. But I that being said as well, if you're monetizing third party outside of either of those programs, and you're just looking for that data, that analytics, where you can say to somebody, hey, you're paying for advertising, we get X amount of views, as long as they're not. But
most people are smart enough to know that Facebook numbers are horseshit. Unfortunately, I can't use Facebook numbers to advertise anything.
Really?
I mean, honestly, no joke. I have an 800,000 person Facebook page that in recent weeks and months I have gone, what is this actually getting me? Versus Instagram and other platforms. And the answer is, honestly, it's very, very little. A lot of work and a lot of interacting with people, but the conversions are not high, and anything really from Facebook, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, because it was a good platform, right?
I know. I mean, it's definitely served in the past. Certainly, when we started the Smoking Tire, 2009 through, call it 13, maybe 14. It really was an active thing that did a lot, and I just think it doesn't do that much anymore, and the engagement is a lot higher. Like the engagement on I put a post on Facebook with 800,000 subscribers and I get like 10, 15 comments. I put a post on Instagram, I get 100 comments,
Yeah.
with a quarter of the followers. I just think that there are more real people on Instagram, versus Facebook, and more engaged users and stuff like that. It sucks to say that because my fiance works at fucking Facebook, so I don't intentionally want to disparage Facebook.
No, you're also not going to blow smoke.
No, and she's only worked there for like a month and a half, so I don't fucking owe Facebook anything except full disclosure, I'm on their health insurance.
There you go. You're on the payroll.
They have a really good healthcare plan.
I bet they do.
I am taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. There's no way, like, you know what? I'm not a big fan of what you guys are doing with my particular page, so I'm going to pay full price for this.
Yeah, right. But yeah. So anyway, that's pretty inside baseball, I imagine, unless your audience is happens to be in the production industry. What else do you want to talk about? Cars?
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I'm sure there's like a whole bunch of people already through this podcast. Like it's been 15 minutes and you've just said the word Ford GT and nothing else. But
so you want to know what it's like to drive? It's fucking fast. It's really fast.
It's kind of funny too because a buddy of mine, Ian McDonald, was one of the testers on that car.
I
Ian,
know that. I know Ian McDonald, don't I? I know Ian McDonald.
Ian's is the crew chief for Dylan Sharp, the red S15 who drove at Grid Life.
Oh, yep.
There you go. Him. Small world, right? So yeah, he used to work. He used to work producing them, and then got on to final testing. So he was one of the guys that.
It's not a bad gig, is it? That
no,
very nice.
I don't think he got to do any road testing. He just kind of stood by a machine as it shook the shit out of every car and made sure the suspension worked. But either way, getting to see those cars every day is pretty sweet.
That's probably entertaining for 10 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. It's one of those things. You think being around the cars gets old really, really quick if the only job is being around them. Driving them is lovely. Driving them does not really get old. Except on like hour 15 of any given day. I've had shoots where it doesn't matter. You could be in $1 million hypercar, and at the end of the day, you're like, I'm tired and want to go to bed. But just being around them does get old. But the Ford GT. The old Ford GT, the 0406 Ford GT, is like one of my probably top 3 or 4 best driving cars of all time.
Wow.
Road cars. Really, it was not a particularly good race car, but it was a fucking great road car. Really, really great road car. Stock, modified, that didn't matter. Great road car. The new one is a race car.
Okay.
And it is completely it's not hiding that at all. The engine, if you want to insult Ford, you can say, yeah, the engine's out of your pickup truck, right?
Kind of.
But that's not really accurate. The engine is actually out of the Chip Ganassi Daytona prototype that won the 24 Hours of Daytona. That's actually the engine. The block is out of the truck. And the block, by the way, it's the same in all of them, right? But like, who gives a shit? The block, whatever. And it's 650 horsepower. It's 550 torque. And honestly, it makes sounds that only race cars make. And I don't mean like there are sounds you hear coming from cars that today, especially like Porsche, their whole new turbocharged range of engines in the Carrera and the 718s, the pops and the crackles. My my Focus RS with the pops and the crackles, Jaguar F types with the pops and the crackles, and there's a lot of the pops and the crackles, right?
It reminds you it's not refined; it's still kind of raw and visceral. It's got something to it.
Right, but in all of those cases, pretty much, the pops and crackles are programmed into the ECU for theatrics, right? Which is fine. I have no problem with theatrics. I actually, people bitch about when the sound gets pumped in through the speakers. I have no problem with that. None at all. Because it's not because the cars don't sound good out of the exhaust. It's because you can't hear that exhaust because they've made this car refined and insulated. And so that's why they do it. And like my Focus RS has the exhaust comes through the subwoofer. And someone told me that, and I got all like offended and holier than thou and unplugged it. And guess what? It sounded worse, and I plugged it back in. So, like, now the Ford GT, the point is, the Ford GT makes those noises, but it does not, they're not electronic.
Okay.
It makes noises that you only hear from prototype race cars at places like Daytona and Le Mans. Like, there's a specific tone and a specific series of sounds that come out of race cars that are driven like, not like at a full clip, not at race pace. Think how race cars are driven on the pace lap.
Yeah.
Right? Like, those types of sounds, they only come out of race cars, and they come out of the Ford GT. So, it's a V6 and not a V8, and that's sad, but it really does, sound and feel like very close to what a Daytona prototype, race car would sound and feel like, which is pretty remarkable. The fact that Ford, not Ferrari, Ford is building a 5.2 liter, naturally aspirated V8 that revs to 8,200, and then this fucking homologation race car. There's nothing that Ferrari or Lamborghini or McLaren make that are an unashamed homologation race car. I mean, they're all road cars you can take racing. But in none of those cases did the race car come first, and then they work backwards for the road car, whereas that is the case here, and you can really tell. And that doesn't mean it's miserable to drive, slowly or in traffic. I sat in like a 45-minute traffic jam with it today, and it's fine. It has a comfort mode, it's not a Rolls Royce, but I'm pretty sensitive to ride quality, and I thought the ride was actually very nice considering what it was. Now, it's got that low mode, right, where it like does the cool thing and like slams it on the ground.
Yeah,
you can't use that.
No,
I mean that you can if you're at Spa. Spa has the most perfect tarmac of any racetrack in the world. If you're at Spa, you can use it there because it's perfect. If you are in the canyons in LA, you can't. So you do it once for effect, and then you put it back at normal height, and then it rides very well. It's fucking fast. So fast. It's really, really, really good.
Yeah,
really
I think you posted something about your time between a certain place and a gas station.
Yeah, no, and
allegedly.
I don't time myself. It's not, I'm not like, fastest guy in the canyons. Like, I'm really not that guy. But it was actually, I happened to, I did a lot of driving in that car today. And just as soon as I finished my videos, I also had finished the second tank of gas. And I was like, okay, well, I have to go down the hill to the gas station because there's no gas stations in the canyon. So you got to go back down the hill. And I had like an hour to kill before I really had to get the car back to the Ford people. And I was like, I wonder if I could make it all the way up and back in an hour. And I'd never even thought about the actual time before. It's like 40 minutes or so in my Focus if I'm not really trying. And I ended up doing it quite a lot quicker than that. By accident. I wasn't looking at a stopwatch, but the car is very, very fast. I mean, there are not a lot of cars where you really are on a road, on a public road, even one in the road in the middle of nowhere like I was, where you're getting into downforce.
Yeah.
That's not normal. There's only been a couple of cars that I can ever think of that I've driven that where you're getting into downforce on the street, and all of those cars had very big like GT wings on them.
Mm-hmm. Big front splitters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, this has the the hydraulic one, the that goes up, and if you're on it, it's pretty much up all the time if you're going quick, and then that's also an air brake, which is extremely functional.
Yeah, it is amazing how much drag that can cause, especially when you have something that's designed with aero in mind, where it's it's deliberately funneling air to that point on the vehicle.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The kind of stuff that these guys can do, and it's not necessarily that the GT is better than the whatever or worse than the whatever. It's not about that. It is really it's really an unbelievable it's an experience because you can tell it's a race car. Just everything about it, from how it revs and how it shifts and how it rides and steers and what the pedals feel. It's a fucking race car. That, oh, by the way, it makes to go from race car to road car, they add 100 horsepower. So it's in a straight line, it'll take the race car in a straight line.
Wow.
It's fucking awesome. It's it's a really, really nice treat. I had 7 hours with the car and I used every single one of them, and I drove the car, the exception of stopping for gas and a sandwich. I drove the car as many miles as I could possibly put on it in as fun a manner as I could do it in 7 hours. So the video is thorough. I think though I did a one take. I think it's 24 minutes long.
Wow. That's pretty significant. Now, did you eat the sandwich in the car?
No, I ate it on the wing.
You just placed it there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm definitely happy that we got to talk to you directly after kind of getting out of the car.
Yeah, it was a very, very wonderful experience to drive that car.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's a special car. Those guys, the SVT people, and I know that Ganassi and Multimatic did develop the race car, and then the SVT took it to the street car. So everyone involved, but the SVT people are they're on point at the moment. I'm very excited for the GT 500.
Yes.
Whatever that's going to be is probably going to be a real good time.
Well,
it's a supercharged version of something similar to the to the Voodoo engine, but
that's what I heard too. Justin Pollock had made some points to that on a recent podcast with the Maximum Driftcast guys, chatting about that because he races for Roush.
Yeah,
and he had kind of dropped a couple of hints in there, and I'm sure if somebody really wants to go back and decode it, you might be able to get a bit more information. But that being said, I'm not sure exactly how much information he has, but it's got to know something.
It's you could probably guess what it's going to be. I mean, honestly, it's going to be the Roush blower, right? It'll probably be either a 1.9 or a 2.3. Fucking dude, GTs are making a reliable 700 horsepower with a blower on them. I mean, that guy in Ohio is selling them things for like 40 G's, right? Yeah. Them like rental cars with these blowers on them. It's ridiculous. But so it's gonna have a setup that's like that, but probably stuck onto a version of the Voodoo engine, maybe with a cross plane crank instead of the flat plane crank.
Yeah.
And it'll be 750 horsepower, and hopefully it'll also use the gearbox the 350 uses. I don't see why it wouldn't use a version of that. As long as my complaint with the last one, the 13-14 one, was that it didn't have enough brakes. The 350 does have enough brakes, so let's assume that Ford has learned their lesson on that one. And the GT certainly has enough brakes.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no worries.
But that'll be exciting. That'll be a fun one too. But the GT it's special. It's very special. And I don't, is it worth $450,000? Like, they're probably losing money on it, frankly, at that price, if I had to guess.
But the advertising alone on it, it's bringing people back to the brand.
Is it selling Fiestas?
I got a 2013 Fiesta, but
do you?
I hate every moment of it.
People to you do? Is it an automatic? Is that why?
Yeah, third transmission.
Ugh, that fucking automatic is such a flaming hunk of shit.
It was a good idea in principle, but
It was.
so is communism.
It was. I went on that Ford Focus Rally thing back in the day.
Yeah.
Which was the first ever Hulu original programming series ever. And it was like The Amazing Race, but in Ford Focuses instead of on public transportation. And we were using these pre-production 2010, 11 Focus, whatever, the current generation Focus, like the pre-production of those. And it had the automatics in them, and they were all steaming hunks of shit.
Yeah.
It was not good. And they never fucking fixed it. Fortunately, the manuals are all fine.
They've apparently fixed it now.
Why do you still have it?
Why?
Yeah.
Because
three gearboxes and you're sticking with that thing?
It's all been under warranty. I can put $40 worth of gas in it and I can drive like 700 kilometers.
Do they keep gearboxes at the dealer and just swap you out like an oil change?
Okay, so
like 6 hours.
funny you should ask that. So the guy who helps me build most of my cars, Scott, is a Ford tech. So I literally take it to his shop and I'm like, hey, it's time for another one. And they've got it down to a system now. Like book time, I think for a tranny swap is 9.5.
Yeah.
And they can get, if they've got like 3 of them lined up, they can get all 3 done in less than 8. Because they've just become that good at it. And apparently the biggest issue was actually an ECU problem. There's they weren't accounting for the actual clutch slipping and they weren't accounting for the clutch wearing down. So the ECU would assume that the clutch is supposed to be in a certain position and then release it to it wasn't adjusting for wear.
Ferraris have been doing that for a fucking decade.
Yeah.
That's so dumb. Ugh.
And that's apparently that's what they're blaming it on. Now that could just be the PR notice, but they don't adjust for that slip or that wear, and then the clutch slams into it, and then you get that shuddering, and then that just wears it down more, and then eventually the clutch pack just dies.
So Ford covers your buddy's shop to fix that under warranty?
Oh no, he works for Ford. Yeah,
you take it to his dealer.
Yeah. Oh no, it's covered under warranty. Like, and every transmission you get, I could be wrong on this, but I believe you get an extra like 90,000 kilometers on that transmission, and they keep dying at like 70. So they're just looking for. It's kind of the only reason why I keep it, because I'm getting a new transmission like every 8 months.
Hilarious. That's very funny. My friend has a. My friend's got a fucking. He had a diesel Grand Cherokee.
Okay.
And it got lemon lawed. And the dealer, to keep his business, sold him a gas one with a lifetime warranty, unlimited mile, bumper to bumper.
No way.
Yeah. And he's now got like 150,000 miles of this motherfucker.
Holy shit.
Is free. And they keep offering him money. They want to give him 10 over book for it. They want to get him into a brand new, whatever. And they're like trying doing anything to get this thing.
I would be lending that car out to people and just being like, go ahead. Let's see what we can do to it.
He's going to leave it to his kids in his will.
Oh man, that's amazing. Someone fucked up. There is a job opening because of that.
It's like, you did what? Oh man.
Oh shit, that's awesome. So I got a few questions that kind of came up when I posted it. And this is actually one that I'm super curious about. How do you think the RS compares to the other cars in its class? Because when it came out,
Focus RS?
Yeah. Is it just taking over, the STI, everything else like that, that's even comparable, or is it punching above its weight, or?
So the Evo's dead.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess they still exist used. Like people, you have to like love Evos, right? Like,
yeah.
Because they drive really well, but like the experience of being in an Evo is pretty terrible. And I don't just mean that they're made of plastic, because like all these cars are made of plastic, but like that engine is effective at making power, but it is a just a miserable engine to spend time with. The vibrations and like frequencies that it like sends through the cabin are just like horrible. It's like so buzzy and drony. I just, especially when you've got like cams and stuff in them,
Yeah.
it's like an unrefined, just a horrible experience. The 4G63 engine.
I was just gonna
Not
say,
a
yeah,
bad,
yeah.
you know, it's not a like it. They're like I've driven and you've seen videos of some gorgeous, well set up, very fast, very fun Evos.
Yeah, or the Death Fiero.
Or the Death Fiero, yeah. But and you give me 15 minutes in a racetrack to myself, I'm gonna have a real good time in an Evo. So they're great, but I think they'd probably be pretty miserable to own. The Subarus, like, there's nothing really wrong with them aside from like the major head gasket issues they have. Besides that, I'm tired of them because to me they all kind of feel the same. I mean, the only thing to me that feels different is when you start going with that JDM 2-liter engine. That a lot of people do. Like, that's a very different feeling engine from really any of the engines that we got in the US. Our engines are the US market engines, and Subarus are all pretty terrible. I mean, they're old. They're all old. And the ones that aren't old, like the BRZ engines, suck.
Yeah, you were saying not that long ago, like that the BRZ just needs 100 horsepower.
Oh, the BRZ engine is so terrible. I hate it so much, and the rest of the car is so nice, and it completely undermines it. Forced induction does a lot for those. The Rotrex supercharger is really, really nice on the BRZs. But that STI RA I drove was really good. I mean, it's like 50 grand.
And there's 500 of them.
Yeah. If you're the biggest Subaru nerd on the planet, and you also happen to be, pretty wealthy, then that's a good option for you. And the STI, like, if you're going to be using the back seat, like, that's for a lot of people, if you're putting adults in the back with any kind of regularity, the STI is very good. And it's if you had a race with the Focus RS and the STI and the newest Evo you could find, if on any given day, the best driver is going to win that race. The best driver could win that race in any of those cars, and so you have to sort of see which one of them like works the best for you. To me, the Focus RS feels the most motor sporty. It has the sharpest steering. It has like the most aggressive kind of like alignment settings, and the way it turns in the hardest. The engine is the most powerful, and also the most motor sporty feeling. Part of that comes from, like I said before, the theatrics of the pops and crackles. But it's effective, and also it's the only one where you can really get actual power oversteer, which is fun. I mean, power oversteer is good. Mm-hmm. I think drift mode is a gimmick, but it's a very effective one. And if you're on the racetrack with that car, drift mode to me is the best mode to be in, because it softens the rear suspension a bit, and it sends more power to the back, and it does let you get power oversteer, which to me is just fucking fun.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit there and spin circles with the drift mode, but I do think it is the best mode to drive in on the track when you want the car to move a bit, which I enjoy having the car move a lot more than I enjoy sitting a good lap time. So, I mean, the RS is the most advanced of the three, and I think it's also. I think it's the nicest, and there's Golf R as well. Sorry, Golf R.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that, but
yeah, Golf R. Golf R is actually probably the easiest, the nicest to live with every day. It feels the most luxurious. But when I drove it back to back on the racetrack with the RS, all the controls of the Golf are very, very light, very light. All the pedals, the shifter and the manual, the steering are all very just this fingertip lightness, which is pretty nice if you're going to be just, driving it around every day, and you want less effort and stuff. But when you start going, I really prefer the feedback of the RS. The engagement of the shifter was much more solid. The steering was sharper and it was weighted up a little more. The pedals had a better engagement feel. They weren't as like rubbery and springy. So Chris Harris preferred the Golf R, and I preferred the Focus RS. But look, the newest STI is a nice little car. The Golf R is a good little car. The Focus RS is a good little car. And I think they just have different characters, and on a good day, if you raced them, the best driver is going to win that race. There's not one of those cars that is noticeably better in any performance way than the other cars, aside from the fact that you can power oversteer the RS.
Yeah.
And I will say that the Mountune stuff on my RS, here's the thing. Okay, the RS ride quality is horrible. Like, it's horrible.
Okay.
It's really, really bad. It made me hate the car. Okay, so if you live somewhere where the roads aren't good, it's really tough to live with that car because it's very abusive. However, if you live somewhere with nice roads, such as Germany, or places where the roads are well maintained, it's fine. In LA or in a major city, it's going to be a problem. So I have the KW adaptive DDC coilovers, which are plug and play, and they're like $4,500.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
They're not cheap, but they are, and I don't use the word lightly, they are transformative. And in the way they make the car ride and handle. And they really changed it for me from miserable to pretty goddamn delightful. It's really nice to drive now. The ride is beautiful. It rides like an M3 now, which is how a car is supposed. Like, all cars, of that type should pretty much ride like M3s, and so this one does now. And it's expensive kit. It's not, that is the only downside. There's always a downside, right?
Yeah.
What's the downside? The downside is that it's expensive. But what's better? Everything else. The ride is better. The handling is better. It's not lowered. It's the same height. It plug and play. They're easy to install. They have a good warranty. It's KW. They're two.
Yeah, they've been around
Germany
for years for a reason.
Yeah, KW. They don't make shit. They only make good stuff. And so this is pretty much the top level of what they can make. And there's no additional software. It's literally, it plugs and plays and it works with the RS software. I mean, it sounds like I'm doing a commercial.
No, but
I'm not trying to do a commercial, but I'm extremely happy with that product on the RS. It makes me sad the car doesn't come like that from the factory, because now that I have it, like, I know how that car can ride and handle,
Yeah, you look at every other RS and you're like, you're missing out. Like, you could be doing this, but
the car would cost $50,000, right? And people are already like, because it costs 40. So, but now, between the Mountune power kit, which I'm making 375 at the wheels, and 450 torque at the wheels,
which is a good bump.
Which is a good number.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy with it now. It's a very fast car, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I have about 11,000 miles on mine.
Wow. So you've put it through its paces.
Yeah, 11. I got it July of 16. So it's 11,000 miles in what? 20 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of your car collection, is there anything that you've kind of rotated through shit pretty quick? Is there anything you wish you haven't gotten rid of?
No, actually, no. I mean, there was something, like, back in the day, like before I did any of this shit. Like, I had an Audi S4 when I was like working at Gotham Dream Cars and stuff. Like, back in the day, I had one of the V8 ones, and it was what a spectacular car it was. But you know what bugged me back this was a B6, right? So this was a 2005 S4, and in those S4s, the 3-spoke steering wheel was an option. and mine had the 4-spoke steering wheel, and I got this S4. It was I worked at a dealer right before Gotham, and so I had a good relationship with this dealer. And this one was the owner of the dealer's like personal demo, so it had like 4,000 miles on it, and I got it like real cheap, right? And it was basically a brand new car, but it had the 4-spoke steering wheel, which I hated it. It was I don't know what it was
Of all things,
of all the things, and it bugged me to no end. And I traded it straight up for a Hummer H1 with like 20,000 miles on the S4, and I traded it for this H1 Hummer. Now, the Hummer was a horrific piece of shit, and I wrote a whole editorial for The Drive about the trading the S4 for the H1, and then I subsequently traded the H1 for a Mini. But right, yeah, it's real. That's a true trade.
Oh, that's amazing.
It was like boom, boom, boom. In like 3 months, I went from an S4 to a Hummer to a Mini. So I regretted selling the S4, and that was a lovely car. And in hindsight, had I kept the Hummer, you know, it's worth a lot more money now than when I bought it or when I sold it. It's probably doubled. Now, not that I wish the caretaking of a fucking Hummer for 10 years on anybody, you know, and the kind of resources involved in that, I doubt I'd have broke even. But yeah, so I regretted selling the S4, but even if I kept it for longer, I certainly still wouldn't have it anymore. So of the special cars, if you will, no, I have not regretted selling any of them.
I figured maybe the DeLorean, but I feel like the idea of owning a DeLorean may be better than actually owning one.
No, you know what's better than owning a DeLorean? Having a painting of the DeLorean that you used to own. Which is what I have now. In my bedroom, I have a painting of my old DeLorean that Patrick Stevenson did for me from the Motor Affair podcast. And it's lovely. And I look at it and smile. And that's about all I ever wanted to do with my real DeLorean. So, no, thing about DeLoreans is that they are great for cruising in moderate climates, right? So if you live somewhere with a nice mild climate and you've got a good kind of cruisy drives, right? Which is most of rural America, right? And outside cities, whatever. In LA, there are two types of driving. There's the grid, the shitty, everyday traffic, horrible grid. And then there's the canyons where you're like mobbing, right?
Yeah.
So the cruising is somewhere in the middle of those two, and we don't have cruising here. We only have traffic and fast driving, and a DeLorean is terrible in traffic and is terrible at fast driving. And so unfortunately, the thing that it's really good at, we don't have, and the thing that we have, it's not good at, which is sad. If I was a wealthy man, I would, find somewhere to keep it, and drive it 3 times a year. If I had all the room and all the money in the world, that I would love to do that. But I am limited on space and funds, and so I became one of a very small handful of people to ever turn a profit on a DeLorean.
Did that one disappear? Bring a trailer, or did you the private sale?
Bring a trailer.
It was Bring a Trailer.
Yeah, I sold it to a guy in Bavaria, Germany.
Wow.
He sends me lederhosen. And yes, he did send me a pair of lederhosen. And you know that he was not a fan or anything like that. He had no idea who I was. And I know that because the lederhosen he sent were a size medium.
Obviously didn't know you that well.
He obviously has no idea who I am. So, but it was very, very sweet. And the guy, I emailed back and forth with the guy a bunch. Bring a Trailer was other than the stress of like literally the car spent about 24 hours at the end of the auction hovering at like $100 above the fucking reserve, which I wanted to put it a certain place and bring a trailer's people, as they do, convince me to drop it down a little bit to, excite the bidding and get it going. And literally it was like, reserve off, bidding stalled. Ugh. And it's, and it was there for like, it ended up working out just fine. And I ended up doing very well on it. And it's on the podcast. We recorded it for the podcast, the ending of the auction. So it was going to be despair. And then it turns out amazing. It's actually, the drama of it all was very fun.
I have to go back and listen to that.
Yeah, but it's it was overall, it was, they couldn't have been more professional. And it doesn't hurt that I was a photography major and I know how to photograph a car. And so I took a lot of good pictures. Good. And also, by the way, that car, that was a special car. That really wasn't just any DeLorean. That was, if you were a collector, that was the DeLorean to have. The documentation of it was extraordinary, and the things that needed to be restored had been restored, and the things that needed to be original were original. And it was I don't want to say it was not perfect, but it was fucking close. And the cars that are perfect, you actually don't want to drive.
No, they're a below 500-mile car that sits in a showroom.
Yeah. There are quite, the DeLorean's early 80s cars was right about when collecting cars became a thing. The idea, not collecting cars, but the idea of a car being collectable. Yeah. The idea that you would buy a car brand new just to collect it. Right.
Yeah, sit on it and maybe turn a profit.
Yeah, the early 80s was the kind of the beginning of that. And so you see quite a few DeLoreans that have no miles. I mean, forget less than 5, you have less than 100. There's definitely a bunch of cars out there that have sat their whole life and will sit the rest of their life. It's weird. It's almost sad.
Yeah, it does kind of. It makes me sad with any car when it just kind of sits there. I'm like, you know what? That's for me, a vehicle is an experience more than anything else, right?
I'll tell you what. I'm going to stop you right there because a DeLorean is best experienced by standing right next to it.
Fair enough.
It's not that they're like terrible to drive. It's just that
they're not a driver's car.
The thing about them is how they look. That's the thing. And that's fine. It can be that. And the fact that it has an engine just means that you can take that bit of sculpture with you, it's a great car for? It's a great car for meeting people. It's a highly, highly social, non-offensive, approachable. If you're driving one, you have a sense of nostalgia, a sense of humor, a sense of style. You have something that's exotic and rare, but not pretentious in the way that something from Italy would be. It's a great, if you want to talk to people like all the fucking time, if you're an introvert that wants to be an extrovert, it is a good car for that. But if you're the kind of person that people tend to come up to and talk to anyway, like if you have a television show, having more of that, except with really bad Back to the Future jokes, is rough. Yeah, it's rough.
So is there like
I tried to keep all my Back to the Future shit here and then the DeLorean shit here, and never the two shall cross, and it just didn't.
There's no way.
No, it didn't work.
So was there like a moment for you when you kind of like something happened where you went, holy shit, like I'm famous for the fact that I like cars? Like, do you have a definitive moment where somebody came up to you and you're like, how the fuck do you know who I am? Or was it just like the grand experience?
Well, it was definitely a trip. The first couple of fans were a trip, because it didn't take that long for it to happen. Like, YouTube was still pretty new, like 07, 08. It was pretty new. But like I mean, I don't think I had been making videos for more than a couple of weeks before a fucking fan came up to me.
Wow.
I thought that was weird, actually. You know, I was like, wait, no. I was like, it's too soon for this. This is weird.
I'm not ready.
No, like, you're telling me that someone can point a camera at me I wasn't even driving cars. I was like in front of a green screen on like the 10th floor of an office building in New York City.
No
way. Just like, yeah, I was doing the fucking car news. It was stupid. It was nothing.
Is that still up? Is that on the channel still?
Not on the Smoking Tire. If you were to go back to that was Garage 419, which was my first job doing car shit. Someone hired me to do it.
Wow.
And that channel is still there, and you can go back and watch that shit.
I know what I'm doing this evening,
and most of it's not good. There's a couple of things that most of it's not good. I'm very lucky in that someone hired me and I got paid to learn in real time. So what you'll be watching by watching that is me at school learning how to make car videos, and not being particularly good at it. Although I reviewed a smart car on a go-kart track, and that one's kind of funny.
That would be fun. It's a proper place for it.
That was the last time I ever got a smart car. I think I was blacklisted after that. Because I wasn't. I think they said I thought it was funny that in the loan agreement you couldn't take it on a racetrack. That's what they said. No racetracks, and so I took it to I took it on like an indoor kart track. And I was like, I'm not on a racetrack. I'm in a warehouse.
It just happens to have barriers everywhere.
It happens to be a go-kart track. So, you know, I was real, you know, I was an asshole like that. So
yeah, you've grown up slightly in the past few years, but you know.
Yeah, I don't really do burnouts anymore. Remember, I did a lot of burnouts for like a lot of years, and now I don't really do that anymore.
I'm still in the burnout stage. I still think they're hilarious.
Oh, yeah, I'm not anti-burnouts by all means. Do it. I think it's very funny that some people, I've seen automotive journalists like get big fucking heavy duty, you know, big power press cars, and like they forget they have it for a week, and like their first day, like whoa, and do like a monster fucking burnout, and I'm like, dude, you have no tires now. Like,
good luck. Yeah, good luck reviewing that car with 30 seconds left on the tread.
Yeah, I've two cars I've replaced tires on myself.
The Cadillac,
CTSV.
Yeah, and I don't know the other one.
And that's by design.
Okay, gotcha. We'll talk later.
We don't have to talk about that one. And it's not because I broke anything. It's just because
you want more cars from them. I got it.
No, it's just because I didn't break anything, but it was in the process of doing something I probably shouldn't have done with the car, even though it turned out okay, aside from replacing the tires. That's all. Nothing was broken. Nothing is fine. We're just not talking about it.
Yeah, fair enough. That's one of those, like, sometimes it's better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission situation.
Homie, when I write the book in 20 years, it'll be chapter 17.
Good to know. Good to know.
You know,
that's how long it's going to take for the book. Come on. I figured this is like an in-process constant, the journal of, Matt Farah.
I'm like semi-retired from doing car videos, huh?
Yeah, semi. Says the guy who just shot 2 videos today of a Ford GT. But I guess that's better than 8 videos.
Only one of them's a real video. One's real and one's like a bonus video. But I'm done with fan cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. That and just, you know, the volume, it's too much after a long time. You get burnt out.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I could see that, you know. I'm looking at it going, "Hey, this is something I want to do." And then I look at it and go, how long can you realistically do it before you get too frustrated with it?
Yeah, and you know, my father is exactly the same way. He work, crash, you know, and so yeah. I'm not surprised at all that I found myself in the position that I'm in. You know, and I had a very fun run of like 600 videos in a row. But at a certain point, it's much more important. I really felt like I was repeating myself, honestly. You know, I felt like I was repeating myself so much, and some of the audience would say that in the comments too. And
you read the comments.
I'd agree with them. No, I'd agree with them. I know when I'm repeating myself. I could tell. And it just was like, all right, you know, either I need to just accept that I'm on autopilot now, and that's how that's going to be, or I need to can this and only make a video when I can. Because how much do you say in 15 minutes, right? It goes like X, it stops like X, it turns like X, it rides like X, blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
That's it. But if you spend a little more time with the car, hours or preferably days, or you experience that car in the environment for which it was designed. For instance, if I'm going to drive a rally car, it should be on a rally stage.
Yeah.
If I'm going to, you know what I mean? Either you experience, either you put the car in its element, or you drive it for enough time and spend enough time with it where you have something to say, besides, here's my checklist of 4 items. So that's more important. It's not necessarily about better production value, although it's possible, but it's not the point. The point is to only have something to say about a car when I've spent what I would consider to be a quality time with it. 7 hours isn't quite the level of quality I was hoping for, but listen, beggars can't be choosers, and we're talking about the 4GT, and I did spend every second with it driving it, so I didn't hard park that bitch. So.
Do you remember like the first supercar that you got, and you're like, holy shit, this is
supercar press car?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because like obviously at Gotham, you're dealing with them all the time.
Right. That was the thing. Being at the rental company, made me actually see supercars as less special, because I would see them break. Yeah, I'd see them break. I'd see the repair bills and how much they were, and I'd see what they looked like after rental customers had really treated them like shit sometimes, and like it's not that I didn't enjoy driving them. I didn't learn from driving them, because I did. But I just, the shine wore off a little bit, and it never really came back in terms of seeing supercars as being superhuman, you know what I mean? Or being like mythical or whatever. Like, they're just parts put together in a different arrangement and made into now, it's not to say there isn't a lot that's special about them, but I've been able to not carry this, for supercars. Like, I've been in some supercars that were pretty fucking terrible, to be perfectly honest. Like, not that I can't want to come on your show and just start throwing shit on the bus and have that be the headline of the show is like, Matt Farah shits on McLaren at the,
I need like one soundbite to promote this. Come on now, man.
No, I've seen cars break in some hilariously fragile ways. Cars that are very expensive and then are also comically fragile. There was a period of time, and that period of time fortunately has been over for about 7 or 8 or 9 years, but there was a period of time where things would just fall off Ferraris. I mean, literally parts would fall off. Like, happened, tail lights of F430s are notorious for just falling out. Like, that's weird. Like, right? $250,000 car, shit falls off. That's strange. So, I'm able to be like, all right, and then also we had these like geniuses at Gotham who would be doing the kind of things that like Freddie Hernandez does now.
Yeah.
Not in terms of like janky repairs on the rental cars, but like in terms of avoiding the bullshit Ferrari tax. Mm-hmm. And my favorite example is like a seat motor. Like, we had a Ferrari 599, and the power seat motor that moved the seat forward and back took a shit, right? And Ferrari wanted like $1,100 for a seat motor, right?
Sounds all right.
We looked up the part number, and it was like a Bosch part that is shared with like so many other cars, and it was like $80, and we just like ordered one and put it in, and that was that. And it was like, oh, like these companies use a whole bunch of normal shit. Like, yeah, okay, they have like special valves in the engine, and they use forged crankshafts and blah blah blah. So there's, they have really nice shock tuning and whatever, but like a lot of the basic parts of these cars are just normal supplier bullshit. And so, I have an Aston Martin Vanquish, and they wanted to charge me $2,700 for a fuel pump a couple years ago. And oh, by the way, it's the same fucking fuel pump out of a Ford F-250 Super Duty with the 6.2 liter V8, and it's $175.
Oh my
And it's
God.
the same Bosch fuel pump. But if you search the Aston Martin part number versus the Super Duty part number, you get a different price.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of it, I learned about that, and learning about stuff like that is how supercars just become normal cars that can go faster.
Is it one of those like never meet your idols kind of thing?
No, not at all, because these cars are glorious to drive. Don't get me wrong. Like, the experience of driving these cars is spectacular, but they're not made of mythical shit. They're just, they're just engineered to do a specific thing, and they have some more expensive parts, and that's why, and they have more engineering time and development behind them, and wind tunnels are expensive and whatnot, but they're not like holy,
Yeah. Well, it's funny how that kind of relates almost to the situation that I'm in now, where I'm starting to meet like pro drivers. Obviously, you and I've met technically we have met, but anyways, like I remember the first time you retweeted something I posted, and it was like me and two buddies just like gather around the phone, be like, holy fuck. And then now it's like, yeah, you're just a dude who's got a job, and that job happens to be in front of a bunch of people.
Just a dude who likes cars, man. Just a dude who likes cars. That's, I mean, I suppose like there is some unique talent. Like I can drive at 9/10 and talk like we're talking right now. And not a lot of people can do that. And my 9/10 is not the same 9/10 as Michael Schumacher, but my 9/10 is still pretty quick to be having a casual conversation. So, that's like the unique skill that I have and have practiced and work on. So, when you watch this Ford GT video in a couple weeks or whatever, or you see a video of me doing a thing at a racetrack and driving some fucking race car and having a fairly casual conversation while doing it, I suppose that's the talent. But the rest of it is just guy who likes cars and figured out a few things that resulted in a little bit of funds to continue doing these things. It's you just figure out how to keep going. You figure out how to keep going and you keep going. Because I don't know about you, but if I couldn't talk about cars for a living, I'm really not sure I could do anything else.
Yeah, dude, I sell like bulk petroleum currently, and I'm pretty much fucking done with that. So
I completely understand. Well, there is light. I mean, I know quite a few people at this point who have quit their day jobs. Regular car reviews guys, they quit their day jobs. Freddie quit his day job. Doug DeMuro, Tyler Hoover, all these guys quit their day jobs and they're doing it and they're figuring it out. So it's possible.
Yeah,
I had a day job at one point. I was on television on NBC Sports and had at least 200,000 or 300,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I was owed so much money. I was like, people were just not paying me. I was owed so much money that I had to bounce at the bar, and I was like checking IDs while my show was on at that bar.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was fucked up. Because let me tell you something. Being famous is kind of cool, and it also kind of sucks. But being famous and not having famous money really sucks. If you're famous and have no money, that's a super shitty position to be in.
Yeah.
Because
Pauly Shore syndrome.
Yeah, people expect a lot of you. And I'm not complaining, it's not a problem. And in places where you can help out, or where you can pick up the check, or where you can do a friend a solid, or whatever it is, like, you're happy to do it. But like, if you are a famous person and you have no money, whatever you're doing isn't really working.
Yeah, that's a special kind of hell.
Those two things should just be in parallel. That's all. You know what I mean? They should rise together. So if you're getting famous, you should probably also be getting paid. If you're not, you probably need to reevaluate that situation.
Well, I'm not famous. I'm not getting paid, so I think I'm on the right graph then.
Yeah, but you have a podcast that presumably someone listens to, right?
Yeah, we're averaging. We're just below 2,000 downloads confirmed average on almost every episode now. We're about 50 episodes in.
You have a podcast that at least a high school football stadium worth of people listen to every week.
That's a real hard thing for me to picture because high school football in Canada is fucking non-existent. But if you were to say hockey rink, I totally get it.
Hockey rink full of people like just standing on that hockey rink. I honestly think of, if I ever feel like that a video is not performed well, you know, for me, like, you know, within the I tend to do it in terms of stadiums. Like, I'm like, oh, this video didn't perform that well. And I go, yeah, that's not well, but that's still like giant stadium worth of people, you know? And that always makes me feel better.
That's a really good way to put it.
It always makes me feel better to just picture all of the whatever that number is. You get so jaded by these numbers, but just picture that number of people standing in one place. That is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might keep me going, bud.
No, it helps out. It helps out if you ever feel like something, you know, isn't like it's not working. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, we've had a couple of things go pretty viral. Some things I wish they went more viral than they did, but is what it is. You know, that's how it goes. The internet's a weird place. The shit you think is going to blow up, like we swapped a 2J into an R34, thought that would go insane. Not really. Like, big.
That's because a 2J is kind of the same as an RB.
It's like flipped though.
Huh?
It's flipped. The intake
and inline six. It's the same.
Yeah, but it's blasphemy.
It's not the same, but on the internet, it's the same.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the engine needs to be a different shape. That's sort of the point.
Well, right? When we did the Cummins Miata, that did really well.
Yeah, see that. Well, there you go. The engine's a different shape.
That's just stupid.
Different fuel, different shape. The Cummins Miata, is that thing alive?
It's currently in a series of pieces sitting at a local high school.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. No, it was an interesting story. Most of the listeners have probably heard it before, but essentially the guy who won it was 70 years old because we raffled it off to kind of raise money. Awesome. 70 years old, takes possession of the car, and I asked him what he's going to do with it. He said, "Oh, I'm going to save it for my grandkids." Find out his grandkids are like fucking 8, and I'm like, "Oh shit!" It sat covered like the inside of a driveway for a year, and I finally convinced him to do something with it, and I talked him into donating it to the local high school that we raised money for. So he did that. And the nice thing now is like I still go back and go look at it every once in a while, and for me it's nice to see kids able to work on something that's just so fucked up, but at the same time it has so much to teach, because like you can teach the kids how to build a VE diesel pump. You can show them a drift setup. Like you can show them what's been done on all that, you know, all the custom fab work, stuff like that. So I'm happy, but at the same time, I was really hoping like some 25-year-old kid who blew his hoopty and just needs something to drift would get it, but you can't pick.
Oh,
so.
you didn't get a fairy tale. Well, did the charity got some money? Right?
Charity got a good chunk of cash. So
there you go. School gets a car, charity gets some money. There you go.
No, at the end of the day, it went really well. So
I'm sorry to say, I have to run.
I know. I've been looking at the clock. I'm like, how can I keep this going? But
I listen. I have appreciated our conversation. It's a good time.
No. Thank you for coming on. I do appreciate it. Well, are you going to Grid Life?
Probably. They haven't booked it yet, but probably.
All right. I will come and give you a stern high five when I see you there.
Shall I plugs? Can I do some plugs?
Dude, please go ahead.
Everything / The Smoking Tire. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, / The Smoking Tire. I'm on Reddit as The Smoking Tire. The Smoking Tire. I'm on And I have a new podcast if you're into watches called Watch and Listen, which is available on iTunes and Android platforms and Shout Engine. And it's also a video show. I host it with Cameron Weiss, and he's a master watchmaker. And so we get into the nitty gritty, and we have like this cool microscope camera so we can take apart watches and we can talk about stuff. We have some really interesting guests. And that's every week. So we have 2 Smoking Tire podcasts a week now, Tuesday and Thursday, and 1 episode of Watch and Listen. And then I've got video reviews of the M6 Grand Coupe and the 4GT. Oh yeah,
Nice.
that 4GT
Oh, yeah.
coming up soon on the Smoking Tire. Now
What's on your wrist right now? On your wrist.
I'm wearing the IWC Big Pilot Perpetual Calendar Limited Edition.
Wow.
Which is the jam. And it was originally a loaner from Crown and Caliber, who's our sponsor. But as part of what I believe is their Grandmaster plan, I couldn't send it back and I bought it.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Yeah, but I love it. This watch is very me. See, look on the video. This is me. It really
I would agree.
Feels like me.
It sits nicely. You're a not small gentleman, and it's not cumbersome.
Yeah, I got big wrists.
There you go.
Thanks for having me, Jake.
Dude, thanks again. I will. We'll definitely catch up soon. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and if you're in LA, you come do my show.
Maybe I'll make a trip specifically to do that. It'll be the worst investment ever, but it'll be a good time.
That is not a good investment. I agree. No. I don't recommend doing that. I do recommend at least finding a few other things to make that flight for.
I will figure something out.
All right, man. Thanks.
Right, good talking to you.
I gotta go. See you later.
See you, man. Hey guys, thanks again for listening. Matt obviously had a little bit of time to spend with us, but it was really nice to catch up with him, kind of shoot the shit. Hopefully I get to see him again at Grid Life. Maybe I'll take him up on that invitation to come to California. I don't know. But thanks again, guys, for listening. Make sure to check out our Patreon account. We just announced the new build that's going on. For $1 a month, you guys have a chance to win the car that we're building. And the best part is you guys get to help build it by voting on polls. Like I said, $1 a month, $12 a year. That's all it costs for a chance to win what might be the most ridiculous car we've ever built or anybody's ever built, because we're literally letting you guys decide what we do with it. You choose the engine, the transmission, the car itself, what we're competing in, all that fun stuff. But thanks again, guys, for listening. Pistonhead podcast every Wednesday, available on all podcasting apps, and the Pistonhead production show on YouTube every Monday and Friday. And make sure to check out Instagram and Facebook, all at Pistonhead Productions.